Thank you very much. Mark, it's correct. Even if we know since a very, very short time, we discovered a very good friendship together with you. And thank you very much for all of you to come here. And thank you very much for officially for the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy Studies. And of all of you, let me greet especially, sorry, not for offending the others, but let me greet especially His Excellency, the Reza Lulema from Sarajevo. Is a very good friend since a lot of times. We spent a lot of time together, and then we have a very good perspective for the future. And then let me thank you too very much. Probably meeting here in this very heart of the community of Sant'Egidio. We are in the very core, heart of the community of Sant'Egidio. This is called the peace hall of the community of Sant'Egidio, because here were held a lot of negotiation for peace, important meetings along the years. You can imagine, through my wide birth, I'm not really initiate of this community since the beginning. We are the 46th anniversary celebrated this year of the born of the community, the start of the community of Sant'Egidio. And then really it's a very good privilege and also an honor for me to welcome you, to express you our warmest greetings on behalf of our president, Professor Marco Pagliazzo, that unfortunately couldn't be here today, for our founder, Professor Andrea Riccardi, our founder at the beginning in 1968 when the community started, for everyone of our community. I hope this is not a good opportunity only, but could be the first step really of a good friendship and very intense cooperation among us in the very future. Thank you so much for your coming. Let me say some words about the sort of introductory speech of this important meeting, a very, very syntonic, meeting with our saint. Please come here. There are seats over in the second row, or the first, or where you like. Welcome. Anyway, since 46 years, the communities of Sant'Egidio in Europe, Asia, especially Africa and Latin America, are working for dialogue among faiths and cultures, fostering peace negotiations in several countries of various continents, but most of all, living a relationship of daily solidarity with the poorest of the world, constantly engaged in a number of battles for the defense of life and human rights all over in the world. In the life of our community, there is a deep connection between the three dimensions: interreligious dialogue, commitment to peace, and love for the poor. It has been so since the beginning of our experience, born here in Rome in 1968, and then spread to Europe and many countries around the world. The experience of our community makes me convinced that we here, men and women of religion, are enjoying at the present a very special historical moment. Today, time of crisis of values and of lack of great visions, is the time of religions. They are called to live a prophetic courage to build a more human world through the alliance with the most vulnerable people in any society. The simplicity and the strength of Pope Francis support us in this perspective. The religions can give voice to the poorest and reconstruct the world with them. This is the most authentic revolutionary force which will render a more human world for all. My dear friends, I firmly believe religions have a great task today. Through dialogue, they can change the hearts and minds of people. Through dialogue, they can change the hearts and minds of people. And I'm convinced that only by changing hearts and minds, we can change the world. Even the most resistant political structures can be changed if we change hearts and the mind. The opposite is never true. Transformed structures cannot change the hearts, but transformed hearts change the structures. This is the great power of religions. In 1987, the community of Sant'Egidio started up to promote the international meetings of dialogue among religions and cultures. The spirit was originated by the day of prayer that His Holiness John Paul II summoned in Assisi on October 27, 1986. In that historic event was tied a deep connection between interreligious dialogue and peace building. Interreligious dialogue and peace building. Dialogue is the alternative to violence of any kind. Dialogue is a force for peace and peacemaking. In the exaltation of violence, there is always a power of an individual or a group against the other, the one against the other. And violence has become in many areas of the world a normal habit, unfortunately. The one against the other. But the meeting in Assisi, on the contrary, united many different men and women in one simple reality: to be side by side, in spite of differences, to pray and to ask for peace from the one who has the power to grant it, despite humanity's desire for war. That could not become an isolated event. That is why the community of Sant'Egidio, urged by several friends belonging to different religious traditions, felt the need to continue that path. That is what John Paul II asked for in the evening of 27 October 1986, at the end of that day. He said, "Let us continue to experience the Spirit of Assisi. Let us continue to spread the message of peace." We wanted to welcome this appeal from the Pope, with its weak strength supported by a large number of friends. It inspired the path followed by Sant'Egidio in the last 27 years. In this spirit, we have walked together as in a great pilgrimage of peace. The number of our companions, men and women from more than 70 countries around the world, believers and non-believers, but all people in search of peace, has increased. Let me stress that the last 30 years of intense and sincere dialogue have generated a deep common wisdom, let me say. Let us remember the meeting in Warsaw in 1989 on the 50th anniversary of the outbreak of the Second World War. War Never Again was the title, War Never Again. After the meeting, a pilgrimage to Auschwitz-Birkenau. For the first time, representatives of the various religions gathered together in a concentration camp: Jews, Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindu. The 1995 meeting was a special one. It took place in Jerusalem, in the heart of the Holy City. The title was "Together in Jerusalem, Jews, Christians, and Muslims." Then there's extraordinary meeting in Bucharest in 1998. "Peace is the name of God. God, humankind, peoples," was the title. For the first time, the community and the Orthodox Church of Romania organized together the meeting. It paved the way to the first visit of the Pope, John Paul II was, to a country with an Orthodox majority. The first visit, 1999, 7-9 May. I remember the meeting in Barcelona, the first meeting of the new century, 2001, 7 days before the tragedy of the Twin Towers in New York, 7 days before. What does it mean? Our meetings have always been held within history, full of the historical memory of the past and of social commitment in the present. These peace workshops have generated many fruits. First, the peace in Mozambique. It was signed at Sant'Egidio on October 4th, 1992, exactly in this hall. You can see the plaque over there on the wall. 4 October 1992. It put the end to a war that had lasted for more than 16 years and that caused 1 million dead. Then I want to recall the Platform for Reconciliation in Algeria the Rome Joint Statement for Guatemala, the agreement for the future for Albania, the educational agreement for Kosovo, and also Burundi, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, Darfur, Guinea-Conakry, and others. I went back just 3 days ago from Manila, Philippines, where I attended an event of some historical significance. At the Malacañan Palace, the palace of the president, on March 27th, the signing of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro, an agreement between the Philippine government and the MILF, Moro Islamic Liberation Front, an armed opposition group, took place, a firm step toward peace and full peace after so many years of conflict in that country. In the case of Mindanao, a conflict that Sant'Egidio has followed closely for several years, the community has had the opportunity to play an active role since 2013, when it was called to be part of the international contact group through the appointment of a representative in the peace talks between the GPH, the government panel, and the MILF, the rebels, on the new political entity of Bangsamoro. An extremely complex case, a conflict of about 40 years, so long time, so many different factions fighting each other. But I want to emphasize that the presence at the negotiation table, in addition to traditional representatives, the presence of two religious bodies, as the Islamic Indonesian Muhammadiyah and the international Christian community of Sant'Egidio, was valuable and useful to reach a positive stage of understanding among the two parties. There are still many problems today. However, today we are more and more convinced of one key point: peace is possible. But true peace will be possible if everyone, ethnic and religious groups, political factions, local administrations, each minority of the whole of Mindanao, if everyone wants and everyone will be allowed to take part in its democratic and synergic construction. Peace will be authentic if it will be peace for all. The Spirit of Assisi is blowing on the Philippines. The dialogue between men and women of religion becomes a viable option for everyone. Even in the case of the Philippines, although the path of a full peace is still a long way, the path is very clear. There is need to reaffirm a culture of living together, a culture of living together. And my thought went back to Sarajevo, really, in 2012. You remember, Excellency, when we organized this historical and beautiful meeting all together on the 20th anniversary of the siege, of the war there, all together saying the future is living together. Sarajevo, let me say the Jerusalem of Europe, let me say it. This is the most precious fruit, the best result of this genuine peace process. In this great task, religions can play a significant role. This is the task of religion today. I feel very much deeply the importance and the task of religions today in our world. For this reason, the community of Sant'Egidio, together with His Eminence Cardinal Orlando Quevedo, the Archbishop of Cotabato, is the first cardinal nominated by one pope, because Cotabato was not a see of cardinal. It's the first time that the Pope Francis, in this case, the Pope Francis, nominated one cardinal in Mindanao, in Cotabato. This is a very good sign of attention towards this country. The Cardinal Quevedo, together with the community of Sant'Egidio, and in cooperation with the Muhammadiyah, the Indonesian Muslim organization, we decided together to promote a conference on interreligious and intercultural dialogue for peace. The event will be held in Cotabato on 6th and 7th June 2014, under the title, Peace is Living Together, Religions and Cultures in Dialogue on Peace and Reconciliation in Mindanao. All of you, of course, are invited to come, if you can. It will be a pleasure for us. Today, we are together. Let me say this last concept. Today, we are together a new movement of peace, generated by the so-called Spirit of Assisi. This movement is able to spread a new culture of peace, and the culture of peace is a powerful weapon, more powerful than the weapons of violence. More powerful than the weapons of violence. I think that we are in the right time to use and to communicate this culture of peace. Our world needs it. Our world needs it. Dear friends, the Spirit of Assisi is not the spirit of a club of intellectuals, neither that of philosophers chattering in a living room, probably taking tea or something like this. This is not the Spirit of Assisi. The Spirit of Assisi is the spirit of men and women willing to defend the lives of everyone, young and elderly, rich and poor, men and women, and to defend the whole of life, from birth to natural death, and to devote one's life to build peace for entire peoples. Peace in society, peace in every land. This is the Spirit of Assisi, and can represent a crucial chance, a great opportunity for the future of humanity. It is a new peace movement formed by authentic friends of peace. This is an important expression, friends of peace, as Pope Paul VI spoke about it in the first message of the World Day for Peace on January 5th, 1968. It was the time of the Vietnam War. The time of Vietnam War. He wrote, Paul VI, the proposal to dedicate to peace the first day of the new year is not intended, therefore, as exclusively ours, religious, that is Catholic. It would hope to have the adherence of all the true friends of peace, as if it were their own initiative to be expressed in a free manner, congenial to the particular character of those who are aware of how beautiful and how important is the harmony of all voices in the world for the exaltation of this primary good, which is peace. Friends of peace, friends of peace. We want to reaffirm this peaceful strength of this year, 100 years after the First World War, this year, the beginning of many wars that have spanned the entire 20th century. We want to set up a time of peace and justice in Europe and throughout the world. Peace and justice in Europe and throughout the world. Might Europe regain the strength of its commitment to peace. Might religions and cultures together, through an open and sincere dialogue, build a world of peace and provide a future for everyone, because we are deeply convinced that only peace is the future. Thank you very much for your attention.